بالله وكفى السلام عليكم همين فيلو قولة ديال كدو هذا برنامجka Arimaha Caalamka wararka ka jaran waliba kumidaha Iran iyo waliba Mareykanka dartay freen adag iyadoo Mariyas qadar waliba lita waliba dhamaaday waqtigii isxakameynta Iran barnaamijka Sinkayna qodobada kalena Sinhay waliba kumidaha ururka Xisbullah iyo waliba uu sheegay in bam usaka garxi ciidamada Israa'iil oo iska deegan iyo gudaha galan tuulada Maron al-Ras ee koonfurta Lebanon barnaamijka iyo Sinkayna tiro kumida askartii Israa'iiliyiinta ee la kadili isku horkooyowkiyo la galan ururka Xisbullah meel markaasaytinka fogayna xadka koonfurta Lebanon sida la hakiigay Sky News Arabia tirada waa tiro Israa'iiliyiinta iyo meelka amooda barnaamijka Sinkayna warbaahinta Israa'iilna waliba iyo markaasay iyadoo hay'adaas Al Jazeera ku warantay in dhacdo halis ee la kulmeen ciidanka Israa'iil ee ku sugan xuduudda Lebanon barnaamijka iyo Sinkayna qodobada kalena Sinhay waliba kumidaha dilkii hogaamiyay Xisbullah حسن نصر الله يا ولبا كوريات مركين كوريتي هدلا حقيجي إن ليه حبنا كترسن إلى هذا كعنك إيران الخميني حالديسا أمنية إدلن أتكي ولن نروري من الجبادة برامج كي يحسين قد بيانا قضاء سيورك لو يبي نسين كاين برامج كمرا عالم كامل فيلا وهي برنامجka Arimaha Caalamka la daraartana Iran waliba la ka warmahay in fariin iyo saasato digniin indirtii Mareykanka iyadoo Mariyas qadar waliba iyo ka sheegtay in dhamaadii waqtigii ama wajigi isxakameynta Iran iyagoo intaasay ka dareen in weerarka soo Israa'iil kula kulmo doonta waa kula kulanta jawaab caadin hayn iyo biyaasa oo ka jartay in la beegsado kaabayaalka Israa'iil sida Al Jazeera iyo hakiigtii sarkaal kale oo ka tirsan Iran barnaamijka Arimaha Caalamka la daraartana ururka Xisbullah waliba uu sheegay in bam markaas iyo ka garxiyeen ciidamada Israa'iil ee iska deegan in iyo gudaha galan tuulada Maron al-Ras ee koonfurta Lebanon warkan iyo waliba kooy kureed markii warbaahinta Israa'iil iyo sheegeen dhacdaha la soo qabsatay ciidanka Israa'iil wana ku qabsatay xadka Lebanon tiro kumida saraakiil Israa'iiliyiinta iyo waliba iyo la kadilaya isku horkooyow iyo la galeen ururka Xisbullah meelanka dheerayna xadka koonfurta Lebanon sida la hakiigay warbaahinta Sky News Arabia dhinaca kale Al Jazeera iyo waliba ku warantay in miidad iyo dhaawacyo askarta la areegay xilad diyaaradaha qumaatigan kaw ee Israa'iil iyo ka qaadeen meelaha iyo ka dhiyaan isku horkooyowka barnaamijka Arimaha Caalamka la daraartan hadaba wararkan ka dambeeyay xaaladda bariga dhexe iyo qodobada adduunka ku weyn barnaamijka Arimaha Caalamka ee bal kolkan waliba fiiriyana press conference ama waa shirkad jaraa'id iyo maalinlahan qobdan qaramada midoobe geeg waliba la qaaday xaaladda bariga dhexe culaysyada Falastiiniinka jaran weeraradii Lebanon iyo arrimo kale oo weyn oo qoseeya mowduucyadaasay warbaahinta gudaha iyana xubnaha ka sareeyay qaramada midoobe ee shirkad jaraa'id geega qobdan su'aalo ku weydiiyeen arintan
Welcome and sorry for the delay, but I know there was other programming going on and I did not want to compete. Speaking of that, the Secretary General, as you know, briefed the Security Council this morning. He warned that the raging fires in the Middle East are fast becoming an inferno. In recent days, he said, we have seen a dramatic escalation, so dramatic that he wonders what remains of the framework of Security Council Resolution 1701. UNIFIL peacekeepers from our end remain in position, and the UN flag continues to fly despite the Israeli army's request for us to relocate, the Secretary General noted. Civilians in Lebanon are paying a terrible price, he said, which the Secretary General utterly condemned. Since last October, more than 1,700 people have been killed in Lebanon, including 100 children and 194 women. Yesterday, he noted Iran launched approximately 200 ballistic missiles towards Israel, as he did in relation to the Iranian missile attack on Israel in April, and as should have been obvious yesterday in the context of the condemnation he expressed, the Secretary General again strongly condemned yesterday's massive missile attack by Iran on Israel. Mr. Guterres told the Security Council it is high time for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, with the immediate and unconditional release of all hostages being held in Gaza, the effective delivery of humanitarian aid to the Palestinians in Gaza, and irreversible progress on a two-state solution. The Secretary General added it is high time also for a cessation of hostilities in Lebanon and real action towards full implementation of Security Council Resolution 1559 and 1701, paving the way for diplomatic efforts for a sustainable peace. The Security Council has now moved into consultations. They will reconvene at 3 p.m. for a briefing on the cooperation between the United Nations and the African Union. Our colleague Parfait Anyanga, the Secretary General Special Representative to the African Union, and Martha Poby, the Assistant Secretary General for Africa, will brief the Security Council. Just going back to Lebanon, following the launch of the humanitarian appeal yesterday, which was for $426 million, pledges from several member states were made and are greatly appreciated, but of course much more is needed. Our bean counters are counting the money as we speak, and we hope to have some figure to share with you in due course. Waiting for more help, we and our humanitarian partners are continuing to scale up efforts to support the government-led response. The World Food Program has provided hot meals and emergency cash to nearly 10,000 households, while UNRWA shelters now house more than 2,300 displaced people. For its part, the World Health Organization is supplying trauma kits and medicine for tens of thousands of patients amid facility closures, staff shortages, and funding gaps. The Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs says that ongoing hostilities continue to have a devastating toll on civilians and civilian infrastructure. More than 364,000 people are confirmed to have been displaced, with government's estimates putting the numbers affected and displaced people as high as 1 million. And as of yesterday, 6 hospitals, 40 primary health centers have also been forced to close. According to national authorities, the number of people having fled to Syria has now exceeded 300,000, including Syrian and Lebanese nationals. We want to reiterate that aid must be allowed to reach people safely and wherever they are, and of course also to remind that more than 60,000 people remain displaced from their homes in northern Israel as well. Concerning the situation along the Blue Line, tomorrow I can confirm that our colleague Jean-Pierre Lacroix, the head of the Peace Operations Department, will be here to brief you on the situation regarding UNIFIL. In the meantime, I can tell you that our colleagues on the ground say that exchanges of fire are continuing and shelling is even more intense. The Israeli Defense Forces also yesterday ordered nearly 24 South Lebanese communities to evacuate as IDF ground incursions across the Blue Line into southern Lebanon have been commenced. As the Secretary General said, the Security Council earlier, our peacekeepers remain in position to implement their mandate. All parties, again, should cease hostile actions, return to a cessation of hostilities, and fully implement 1559 and 1701. Staying in the region and looking at the humanitarian impact in Syria, our colleagues warn about the impact of hostilities in the region on efforts to help those in need in Syria. Airstrikes reported today in Dara and Sueda in southern Syria have led to temporary disruptions in some of our humanitarian activities. Within the last few hours, 2 rockets landed within 120 meters of our UN offices in Damascus. Yesterday, an airstrike in Damascus was about half a kilometer away from several UN offices. We and our partners continue to distribute food, relief items, hygiene kits, and other essential items to over 400 families who were displaced for 3 days of shelling in Idlib last week. The situation keeps getting worse and will require continued, if not increased, humanitarian assistance. Turning to Gaza, our humanitarian colleagues say that partners working to provide health care in the Strip reached some 300,000 people each week from mid-September through the end of the month. 56 partners were active during this period, with 48 health service points in operation. As of Sunday, there were 15 emergency medical teams on the ground in Gaza supporting the local healthcare workforce, including 3 in northern Gaza. And following up on questions at yesterday's briefing, OCHA colleagues tell us that preparations are underway for a second round of the polio vaccination campaign, which is expected to take place mid-October and will include also the distribution of vitamin A supplements. As part of a also as part of a new project launched by the World Health Organization in the North, 240 national emergency medical emergency medical doctors have been deployed in the emergency department of the Al-Shifa Hospital to provide both trauma and non-trauma services. I think these are 240 emergency medical technicians. OCHA also warns that health facilities in Gaza continue to face severe supply shortages due to obstacles hindering the entry of humanitarian aid, as well as a growing backlog of health supplies and equipment awaiting entry into Gaza. Quick trip announcement. Our Deputy Secretary General, Mina Mohammed, will be traveling to the Kingdom of Lesotho to attend the official commemoration of the bicentenary of the founding of the Basotho Nation and she will go there on behalf of the Secretary General. While there, she will engage with senior government officials, parliamentarians, and traditional leaders. She will also meet with local communities, UN colleagues, and other stakeholders to discuss key national efforts to reform state institutions and to accelerate implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals. From there, she will also head to South Africa to engage with senior government officials on the forthcoming G20 presidency of the Republic of South Africa. Ms. Mohammed will then go on to Azerbaijan to participate in the preparatory meeting for the 29th session of the Conference of Parties on the Framework Convention on Climate Change, otherwise known as pre-COP29. She'll be, of course, meeting with various delegations from member states attending the event. While in Baku, she will also meet with senior government officials of Azerbaijan to discuss the ongoing COP negotiations. She will be back on the 11th of October in New York City. Staying in this hemisphere and turning to Haiti, our colleagues from the Office of the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs are deeply concerned by the rising displacement in recent months as escalating gang violence.
waayahay guud ahaan weli baan taa ka afmeerana barnaamijkii amuuro caalamka ee warteelka Arlaadi min fayl